Well, first of all, I'm going to start by congratulating everyone for United Against Fascism, One Society, Many Cultures and Love Music, Hate Racism, for taking the initiative following the disgraceful speech of Cameron in Munich. And obviously tonight's meeting is an opportunity for us to pull together the type of alliance that we need in order to defend multiculturalism and oppose the victimisation of the Muslim community. For the trade unions, it's vital to defend multiculturalism. With 9% of the population from ethnic minorities, our workplaces reflect the diverse character of our society. The unions play an important role in ensuring the unique needs of the workforce are addressed. We must ensure that our workplaces are free from racism, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, and any form of discrimination based upon culture, religion, nationality, sexual orientation or gender. But we have to go further. We have to recognise that diversity must also be expressed in a positive provision. For example, in many of the Royal Mail sorting offices, it was the CWU who had to organise campaigns in order to ensure the provision of prayer rooms. Such facilities make a huge difference to the workers that use them. And equally, we've had to frequently argue the case for workers to be able to arrange for the various festivals such as Eid or Diwali. This does not divide the workforce. On the contrary, it unites the workforce behind an understanding that everyone is entitled to respect and equal rights, whatever their nationality or their culture. That said, we have to take up the argument in support of multiculturalism as a principle. When David Cameron talks about down his nose about state-sponsored multiculturalism, we know that it's a general attack upon social diversity. After many years of struggle in this country, Britain's black and ethnic minority communities have managed to get some sense of awareness from the government and the state and the institutions that their needs must be specifically addressed. You know, it's sad to hear people like Trevor Phillips disown multiculturalism when his own dad was a postman who started his working life in King Edward Building. And he's told that tale many a time at a CW conference, and he talks about the problems his father had, and his father would never see himself becoming a boss in the post office back in the 1950s. Now Cameron wants to roll back these gains. It will save money and falls into government's general assault upon state provision. And it's a nice traditional diversion of prejudice to distract people from the actual source of their problems. You know, the white man, the famous song by Bob Dylan, the poor white man's views are used as a hand of a tool by a mob. The laws are with him to protect his white skin. He never thinks straight about the shape that he's in. He's just a pawn in the game. That's what it's all feeding into this. But we need it back. These backward settlements are not just wrong in principle, they're also out of step, and that align with the needs of our society in a globalised economy. Multiculturalism allows us to connect directly and personally with the nations and the communities of the world, and this is particularly true as regards to developing economies and the country in the world. I don't know how many people are familiar with the first law of cybernetics, but it says this: the ability of an organism to respond to external stimuli is a function of its internal diversity. If you are internally diverse as a community, you are better able to deal with the problems of the world. It's good for you on every single, it's good for us on every single level. And the fact that London has over 300 languages spoken means that the people of London are capable of directly communicating with just about every market that exists for our products, our services. And multiculturalism is a great force of production. And to diminish this places our country as at a disadvantage in the fast and changing world. And finally, alongside the attacks upon multiculturalism, goes for the search for the uniform, mythical monoculture. Now, what is this culture? Has already been mentioned that we're expected to look for society whilst agreeing as sensibly supposes uncontentious English values. Well, history, of course, has never been like that. History in our country has always been multicultural and contradictory. Let's register that Celtic languages existed before English and still exist today. And we have records of black people and Jewish people being in Britain in Roman times, long before the Anglo-Saxons. And if you look at Cameron, he strikes me as a Norman French. And we're still waging that battle, aren't we, against the Norman French. But just as in ancient history, the past millennium, I hope there's no Norman French out there, has seen a non-stop immigration to immigrate from our shores. It's created a culture where the dominant language may be English, but it's a language that assimilated 10,000 words from French alone. Today we must stand up to all those who denigrate multiculturalism, whether they be the Prime Minister or Labour movement activists. And we must stand up to an attempt to intimidate Britain's Muslim community, whether it comes from the coalition, the BNP or EDL. And you may have guessed, I'm not from this city. I was born in Liverpool, but I've lived down here 19 years. And I think this is apart from Liverpool, of course, I think this is a fantastic I think this is a fantastic city, and as Martin Smith said earlier on, I live in southwest London, just on the borders of southwest London, and I think it's fantastic to have all the various, the foods of the world, basically. One side of people from Sri Lanka live, the other side Polish people live, and I think that and when people talk about culture, this monoculture, what is it that what is this culture they're talking about in terms of what is it they're trying to define? What is it exactly? And what we all know is their culture is a different history. Somebody was talking to Steve Bell in my office today, and he talked about British values, and we were talking about it. And who played let's talk about an icon, supposed icon of British culture, shall we? Winston Churchill. Who done more for the Indian people, Winston Churchill or Gandhi? The answer is the answer is obvious, of course. So, when they try to pull us back to, we know what they're about. Multiculturalism needs to be defended. I think we're at a very worrying time in terms of what we need to do. And as previous speakers have said, we need to unite, we need to stand together, and we need to take on these arguments. And once again, congratulations to the organisers of this event tonight. Thanks very much.